Today, I wanted to talk about Evelyn from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And specifically, I really wanted to talk about like her relationship with herself as well as like her relationship with her family. So, firstly, when talking about like Evelyn's relationship with herself, I had to mention that line where they're saying like it's like water leaking through your clay pot. The clay pot represents like your mind, right? And so all these cracks and things happen. And the way that I was looking at it myself, the reason why these instances would happen was when Evelyn would jump, right? Like when she would think about another dimension, or I don't know if they consider the dimensions, but so if she thought about a different dimension version of her head would like hurt or whatever, or things like that would happen. And the way that I take that is how you live your life. If all of a sudden you only started thinking about other versions of you, like, oh, if I would have did this differently, or if I would have did that differently, if I would have went to school, if I would have done this, that will start to crack your clay pot or your mind. It starts to make you kind of break down who you are. And like in so many scenes, I felt like that was so cool, like that it represented that. Like you could literally see her, like, you know what I mean, kind of not dissociating, but like shattering like herself. And that's essentially what happens when we do that. When we do constantly make ourselves feel bad for the decisions that we made. Like in life, there will always be a million different things you could have did differently or said differently, or, you know what I mean? Like it's so many options. But when you start to think about all of those different versions of you, like how Evelyn had all those different versions of her, when you start to do that and focus on those versions more than the life you live, that's when you start to hurt yourself and your clay pot starts to leak. So just wanted to end it with that part was saying like it makes you unable to be present. And I think that's really what the main issue, right? So Evelyn would be switching places and stuff like that. And she was unable to be present. Like she was, and think about this. That's why I think this is what I think it was representing. She's physically present, but mentally she's not present. Like when they were doing the taxes and they said, just like smile. You know what I mean? You don't have to say much. That's literally what was happening. She was not being physically present. I mean, mentally present. She was physically present, but not mentally present. Like you cannot be in two places at once. That doesn't happen. So just like with Evelyn, she can't be over there and here at the same time. She had to pick. So in our real life, either you're fantasizing about another reality or you're present. You can't be like, you can't do both at the same time. I really wanted to talk about Evelyn's hobbies. Evelyn's hobbies and fun movies. I love that those things are literally what saved her. Think about it. That's so deep to like what that's meaning, what it's representing. You know, you can have hobbies and yes, they aren't tax write-offs. And no, you don't get to make money from them, right? But guess what? Those things will save your life. You have to have hobbies. I've been seeing a therapist for a while. You really need to have, whether you paint or color or draw or something where it's like you're not making money. I remember when I took a psychology class, it's literally called, and I'll probably say the name incorrectly, but I think it's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And like you literally need stuff that you do that you don't make money from. And I remember in this book, I was reading and learning that like literally when you make money from something, it cannot feed that same area like a plain hobby. So let's say you paint for fun. When you pay for fun, your brain is getting like this really boost of like feel good. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, this feels amazing. And it's good for you. It releases stress and everything like that. The minute you start, let's say, selling paintings, when you start making money from those paintings and now you're painting with money in mind, it will not be able to feel that same thing. You may like it. You may still like to do paintings, but you're going to have to pick up a second hobby because it will not be able to fuel that same part of your brain where you're like, this feels just so good and it's so relaxing and it's de-stressing. Now when you paint, it may feel good, it may be distressing, but it's not going to be as good as it once was. And so I thought that was really interesting that like they talk about her hobbies and stuff and how she tried to put that on her taxes. And then, you know, it's kind of made it feel like, oh, these silly hobby things that don't matter, but they literally save her. And I think that's what it was just representing in the movie, that those things, your hobbies, they will save you in the end. Part 2, her father. So now I really want to focus on the relationship with her and her father. That scene, and I'm just going to jump straight in. That scene where they're on the escalator and he's like the robot guy and he's literally crushing her. Oh my God. Like that was so freaking awesome and deep. Like he's literally crushing her. His expectations, his dreams, wants, and all of that stuff that he's put on her. It's literally crushing her. Also, we have to ignore if I cry. Okay, I love this movie. Every time I talk about it, I cry. Like, this is my favorite movie. And, you know, I watch a lot of movies. So, you know what I mean? I literally had the same favorite movie since I was a child. Like, since I was like 14, it's been flipped. As we can see, her father clearly did not agree with the choices she made. Her father disowned her basically when she moved to America. And she would call him. They showed that she called him several times over and over again. And like he wouldn't answer. She would just leave him voicemails. And it was only when he got sick and had to move in with her that they, I guess, started talking again. And so her father literally being like that was just so crushing to her. And it was making her behave that same way to her daughter. She did not want to feel embarrassed about her daughter being gay. She did not want to have to try to explain to her dad that. She didn't want to have to argue with him. Because think about it, with those type of people, you already know what it is. You can tell certain people, like if you tell them something like that, like, oh, somebody's gay, it's not just going to end at like, oh, okay, they're gay and that's it. Nope. Now they're going to give their opinion and tell you what they think about it and say these nasty things. Evelyn probably just wants to avoid an argument with her dad altogether, or avoid those conversations altogether and not even have them. But she didn't realize by doing that, by ignoring her daughter and like that part of her being important, she was crushing her daughter in the same way. And I think it's really important that her daughter, Joy, she is not embarrassed of who she is. And it hurts to know that her mother is. You could see it on her face when her mom was like her friend. You could see the pain on Joy's face, that hurt that her mom would like basically ignore that. Like imagine if you have this part of you that like, you know what I mean, you care about, you're proud of, you want your family to be proud of too. You want them to know this about you. You want them to know you. You know, that's how you love people. And imagine if they just reject it. Part 3, Waymond. I love Evelyn. But I have to be honest. She is mistreating her husband, Waymond. And she is very, very, very resentful towards him. And it is very clear. I feel like some of her frustration is very understandable. But overall, she's like very unloving, uncaring. And it's interesting that she is so blindsided by her husband asking for divorce. She's so out of touch with Waymond and their relationship that she didn't even expect that. We see how many times like Waymond does like googly eyes or baking cookies for the tax lady, like these random things, or, you know, they're just very unaffectionate. They don't seem connected at all. They don't seem like a happy married couple. It seems like business, like almost like a business relationship where you're like, okay, business as usual. I'm doing this. Oh my God, just go sit over there. Like you're in my way. Like I'm doing this. And you know what I mean? I'm doing this a certain way. And don't get me wrong, I could see why, like, okay, if you're at a laundromat and maybe, you're like, okay, I'm frustrated with this. I got my dad, you know what I mean? English is not their first language. So trying to do taxes and like, you have to bring your dad for the taxes and then you don't want to bring your daughter. And it's like all this stuff that you're like, oh my God, like, you know, but ultimately it's very clear to us, the viewers, like this is a one incident, but it does not seem like Evelyn is very like lovey-dovey, kissy, like it doesn't seem like that at all. And so their overall marriage, it seems like that's why Waymond is asking for divorce. And once again, she's not even connected with him because she's so shocked by that. She's thinking, oh, did somebody give you this? She blames Waymond for a decision they made together. So they decided, at least from what we see, right? They decide as a couple to move to the United States and start a laundromat. And maybe she feels like he sold her a dream, right? Maybe he was saying, oh, we're going to do this laundromat and we're going to make so much money and we're going to live this great life. Ultimately, Evelyn decided to go. That's what it boiled. When we boil it all down, that was her decision. And in a way, she blames Waymond for that. Like, you're at fault here. You know what I mean? I blame you for this. I'm not going to say it, but I resent you and I feel angry at you, even though I made this choice too. She's not really taking responsibility for her own actions in this moment. She often dismisses Waymond and calls him stupid, which I think is really hurtful. Like, you constantly see her just like, oh, that's my stupid husband, or like say these, and to me, like, that's like really harsh, and maybe not to other people, but I just find that really harsh. I would never call anybody I love stupid or speak of them dismissively, like, oh, my stupid sister or like, my stupid mom. Like, that's so harsh to me. And we see her do that several times to Waymond, right? Waymond does these things, like I said, bake cookies for the tax lady or put googly eyes on the laundry and stuff like that. And, Waymond is really hurt. Like, he can feel Evelyn's resentment and anger towards her. And I'll never forget when he tells her that he fights differently. And when I really thought about it, like, him putting the googly eyes on stuff and doing these things, it's his way of fighting that negativity. It's his way of preventing staleness. And I thought that was so beautiful because that's true. It may not seem like, okay, he's fighting, but he fights differently though. In his own way, doing these things that, like I said, we all need hobbies. We all need fun things. Like, so him baking cookies, I also thought that was interesting. The stuff that she called stupid helped them. The tax lady was going to basically nullify the thing or whatever. But then she ate the cookies. She ate the almond cookies. We see that those stupid things actually came in clutch. Waymond is helping. Clearly it's not stupid. What she thought is so stupid, it is actually very helpful. It helped get them favor with the tax lady. Why does he not have to do these things that he likes because she thinks it's stupid? Part 4, her daughter. So the final person we will be talking about in the movie whose like relationship with Evelyn is her daughter Joy, obviously, because Joy is a main character. So we clearly are able to see that Evelyn and Joy have a very strained relationship. Like, they love each other clearly, but there's constant issues over, Joy's sexuality not being taken that seriously or being seen as more of an inconvenience, along with her girlfriend. Her not feeling like she's respected or her relationship is respected. And ultimately, the main message I got from them is the fact that nothing matters, mean that everything you do does matter. And I feel like that was the main message of the movie that I took away with. But you see that Evelyn and her mom, they're the main center of the whole movie, right? So Joy is the quote villain, and they're constantly fighting and stuff like that. And then we get to the point in the movie where, Evelyn and Joy have been fighting this whole time, right? And then that scene when they're in the mall, Joy isn't fighting anymore, right? So she made her mom basically see everything that she felt. You know what I mean? And she's just kind of hurt. We see that Joy has a lot of pain and she no longer wants to fight her mom. And so if I get emotional, please, if I cry, just ignore it. I don't know why. Whenever I think about them, it makes me so emotional. That scene when Joy is walking out to her car and she's like really hurt. She's kind of done. She's walking out to her car and her mom is calling after her. And then Joy is crying and she's like, why don't you just let me go? Just let me go. And it's such, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm having a hard time describing it, but you see that Joy is kind of like, why do we keep doing this? You clearly aren't happy with me. I'm not happy with how you're treating me. I don't want to do this anymore. Why do you keep holding on? Why do we keep doing this? And then they like even show them as two rocks in that different universe, right? And to me, that showed that Evelyn is like, I will follow you anywhere, to any universe, because you are my daughter and I do love you, right? She lets her go. And you can see it in Joy's face that she didn't expect her mother to really like let her go. And so when she starts to walk away and then Evelyn finally grabs her arm, and pulls her back. And I think that's like, it's so big because for a lot of mother-daughter relationships, it may feel like that, a lot of push and pull. You may feel like, just let me go. Let me be myself. Let me live my life. Leave. You know what I mean? But for the moms, and I felt like this was so interesting because I had never really seen the mother's side of that, the mother's perspective of this. From Evelyn's perspective, She's thinking, like when she grabbed her daughter back and like when she turned back around in the parking lot of the laundromat, and she's like, you don't call me. Her daughter's like, what? And the mom was like, we have a family plan and you don't call me. Evelyn literally pays the family plan, right? And her daughter doesn't call her. And what to me is showing is Evelyn is hurt just like her daughter. Whether we feel like it's right or wrong, Evelyn had plans for her daughter too. Evelyn is wrong for how she treated her husband and daughter, like, but she's there. You know what I mean? Like, yes, she may not like these things, but she didn't give up on her daughter. And she's not going to give up on her daughter. She's like literally saying like, you don't call me and we have a family plan. Like, you don't do like X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like all these things that I want you to do and that, you know, maybe you said you would do and you don't do them, but I'm still here. And I think that's what she's trying to say to her daughter. And it made me have empathy for my own mother, because as children, you don't really realize that your parents did have these sort of goals and ideas for you. Yes, it is not their life to live. So like, you know what I mean? Their opinion is just their opinion. But if you think about it, like when Joy is frustrated with her mom and feeling like pushback, she just wants her mom to let her go completely. Versus Evelyn is like, you're doing these things I don't like, but I'm still here with you. Whether to any universe, I would follow you no matter where you go. Yes, you don't do these things that I want. And yeah, you know what I mean? All this stuff is not perfect, but I love you so much. I'm going to follow you wherever you go. And I thought that was really big, because we don't really acknowledge parents' disappointments either, because it's not like, you know what I mean? We always say like, you're not supposed to put like expectations on your children, right? But at the same time, we're human. And so people do that, right? We have these things that we want people to do. And when they don't do them, parents aren't really allowed a space to kind of say, I'm disappointed and I'm upset about these things. Like, yes, they do. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, specifically in this type of instance, Evelyn realizing, you know, these emotions and saying them out loud is a good thing. It's good to kind of clear the air and speak your grievances, you know, sometimes. And yeah, she's not right. Yeah, your daughter doesn't have to do these things. But ultimately, she's saying to her daughter, I still love you, regardless of you doing these things or not. This is the final section. We see a much more happy, jovial Evelyn. She kissed her husband with love. Gathered at the tax office as a whole family. Their daughter, the dad, her husband, Evelyn, they're all together coming there. And I love the shot, the transition when she's like, when the tax lady is saying, I like this picture. And when we pan up or whatever, we see Joy and the grandpa and like their whole family. And I think that's just showing like for the movie, like a change has happened and showing us the conclusion. Yes, their circumstances may not have exactly changed dramatically, right? But how they view each other, how they treat each other, how they love each other has changed. Before, when they came together, like when we had the first shot of the family, the daughter was not there. Joy was not there. But now when we look up, Joy is there. It's a literal complete family picture. And yeah, this movie is a game changer. I thought this was such a fresh, new idea on a movie. I would have never thought of this. I think they are so creative, so intelligent, the clothing, the makeup. Now in this video, I'm specifically only talking about like her relationships with her family. I'm not going deeper into like everything else, like the mirrors or googly eyes where they're placed. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and like, and make sure to comment down below if you have any ideas for like a video I should do or something you want me to watch. Let me know. And I hope you guys had a great holidays, and bye.
Subscribe.